Let's wait for Steve to turn his camera back on. Shannon, you're ready to go?
Yes, I am. Thanks, Scott.
Okay, well, look, I think we'll kick off. We've got your written submission on behalf of the New Zealand, is it the Institute of Landscape Architects? That's right.
Correct.
It's the abbreviation. I just bring it up on my screen. So look, we've got 10 minutes. We're in your hands, Shannon. We've had an opportunity to read the written submission. Welcome, over to you.
Kia ora koutou, Ko Shannon Bray. Aho. Yeah, thank you for the invitation. I know you're hearing a lot of people. So yes, here is the representative Tuipia Te Ora, New Zealand Institute of Landscape Architects. So we're a professional organisation of approximately 1,000 members. I head the RMA working group, which meets on a regular basis to discuss environmental legislation and policy. I was the co-author of our submission, which was reviewed by our working group and ratified by our board. I've also been involved in panel discussions on the fast track approval bill with members of other professions. I think it's important I start by saying that landscape architects are facilitators of landscape and environmental change. While sometimes our role involves the protection of landscape, often our work is in the balancing of project outcomes with community and environmental outcomes, and how this manifests within the places we all live, work, and play. My own projects include the development of significant infrastructure across the country, roads of national significance, wind farms, solar farms, quarries, residential development. My work straddles consenting and design, in that we consider the best outcomes come through designing out potential effects, placing emphasis on avoidance. Usually these outcomes come through conversations with people, communities, about the aspects of landscape which they value, what it means to them, and how we can best manage this change within this context. Like many submitters, it's the involvement of people and communities in decision-making that we want to talk to you about. So let's just get a little bit interactive. Can I ask you all to think of a favourite place that is close to your home? Somewhere you can vividly picture in your mind. It might be somewhere you visit, or it might be something you look at, something you connect with. Scott, I'm imagining you've got something in Coromandel. Can you tell me where it is?
It's my happy place called Kurtunu, just north of Whirianga.
Oh, yes, I know exactly where it is, the beach. Yep, very lovely there. Rachel, I'm sure you've got somewhere in Dunedin, a beach.
Oh, lots of places, but Ross Creek, which is part of the town belt.
Lovely. And I'm sure you both have others in Wellington, Christchurch, etc. I have so many places like you, Rachel. It's hard to pick one. So think about these places. Are they yours? Do you own them? Or are they on land owned by others? And if these places were to substantially change, how would that affect your connection to those places? Would that change make you worried or concerned? Change the things we love affects us, particularly those places we feel connected to, places that we identify with, places that are part of who we are. So let me ask you one more question. If you had no opportunity to make your feelings known to those responsible for deciding whether change could happen to those places you have in your minds, how does that make you feel? Do you feel warmer or cooler towards the project that's being proposed? This is our key point. Landscape is the representation of the connection people have with place. It is fundamental to our identity, our well-being. As such, we have an overwhelming urge to connect with landscape change, to talk about it, to share our feelings about it. This conversation is healthy and useful. Firstly, it allows project designers to respond, to make changes to projects that result in more positive outcomes. This is my daily experience through all consenting projects. As the project advances and we hear from affected individuals, people who have deep connections to the place we're building, we adapt and we respond so that the project ends up in a better place. But secondly, and this is important, allowing people the forum to talk to be heard helps with their process of acceptance. My experience is that many people who submit just want to be heard. They want the opportunity to express their strong emotions for a place. As designers, this is important for us to hear because it allows us to adapt and understand what this thing means to us. As decision makers in a democratic society, it's important in the overall weighing of positive benefits versus adverse effects. We do not oppose the concept of efficient consenting. We recognise that sometimes large, more complex projects need robust decision-making processes. We also are acutely aware that the current systems can be slow and cumbersome, and we're doing our own work within our own profession to see how we can help with this. We've come a long way already. But no matter what, we consider that these processes, particularly for large-scale projects which have widespread community benefit, must involve the communities that are potentially affected by the change such projects bring. It is these communities that have to absorb the impacts, which is often personal and emotional. So amongst other things, this is the point I'm focusing on today. We request that the approvals bill mandates for community engagement prior to decision making. And now I'm yours for 4 minutes for any questions you have.
Steve Abel has a question. Shannon, over to you, Steve.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. A very compelling way of making the point about what it feels like for locals if they don't get an opportunity to have a say on developments in their region. I wonder if you also agree that there needs to be a process for assessing any application on the basis of its beneficial impacts for the climate or the environment, or the extent to which it has specifically public benefits rather than private benefits.
Oh, I think that happens anyway, and it happens very clearly. I think, you know, I do a lot of work with wind farm developers, and, you know, they're very keen to point out exactly what the benefits of that project will be to a national population. So that's great. So we hear that side of the thing really easily. What we're going to perhaps struggle with is hearing the other side, the adverse side, and actually who gets impacted by that benefit.
Rachel.
Thank you. On landscape, Shannon, do you accept that sometimes a modified landscape is used as a reason to stop some developments from happening? And like we hear a lot about, for instance, the open ocean salmon farm that was going to be near Stewart Island, that it was landscape that stopped that, but it's a modified landscape. What do you think decision makers should be thinking about in those circumstances?
I don't think it's. I think you could probably say that most landscape in New Zealand has been modified in some way. That there isn't. There's very little pristine landscape. There might be some in our national parks, which is pretty well secure. So all landscape, and pretty much the landscapes that everybody deals with on a daily basis, when you drive from your house to the places that you described, you're driving through modified landscape. That doesn't mean it doesn't have value to people. And so as landscape architects, we're not necessarily saying don't do something because it's in a modified landscape or it's because of this. What we're trying to do is to get to the values that underscore it, underpin it, and say, well, what does this place mean to people? Because even, places in the Marlborough Sounds, for example, which are modified, they still have deep meaning to people, and that change can affect people and can be quite significant. On the flip side, there are lots of places, and we use it all the time, where modified landscape, well, actually, this is already modified, so the changes that we're now looking to make aren't as significant because of that modification.
Terrific, Shannon. Thank you very much. Really useful submission, and always good to get us thinking about places that we enjoy and hold special. So thank you very much for that opportunity.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Members, we're now going to the Wise Water Use Hawke's Bay